Research proposals can be in the form of dissertation proposals, thesis proposals, or research proposals to seek approval from supervisors, academic committees, or funded bodies. In this video, our focus is going to be on research proposals to seek approval from funding bodies. And we are going to be looking at the question that every researcher faces when they are preparing their proposal to seek grants or funding support from funding bodies. How do we make our proposal convincing enough to win that is the funding body approval? What do we need to convince them of? In this video, we won't dwell on how to write a research proposal. We have a comprehensive video on that, a well-detailed step-by-step tutorial with practical examples. The link to the video is below this video in the description. All right, so let's move over to our major focus in this particular video. How do you make your proposal convincing enough to win approval for the funding you are seeking? What do you need to convince the funding body of? Now, fundamentally, a proposal does serve to present a workable plan for conducting an academic research exploration intended to identify and/or fill a gap in knowledge or address an issue in driving forward academic, scientific, or societal progress. While preparing a research proposal to seek funding, the goal is to get approval for the funding at the end of the day. So, what you earnestly look forward to is being able to prepare a proposal convincing enough to the readers or authorities at the funding body to get their approval for the fund you seek for your research project. It's worth mentioning here that you must prepare your proposal with the understanding that your proposal in this respect is not only to serve as a plan for conducting your intended research, but it is also to serve as your pitch to convince all concerned of the worth and feasibility of your research project. So that being said, there are essential components that make up a solid research proposal. And it is worth mentioning that the requirements vary from funding body to funding body. Some funding bodies might provide the format they want you to follow with guidelines, while others might allow you to prepare your proposal as it suits the research project you are proposing. Whichever way, the rule here is to ensure you understand the requirements of the funding body and follow them accordingly. As I've said earlier, the link to our comprehensive tutorial on all the components and ingredients of a compelling research proposal is in the description below this video. So, back to our focus. How do you make your proposal convincing enough to win approval for the funding you are seeking? What do you need to convince the funding body of? Though I can speak for all funding bodies, but there are obviously three things you need to convince the funding body of. They are the three convincing factors that the readers or authorities at the funding body look out for. One, the significance and the purpose of your research. Why is your research important? Is the specific problem or gap in knowledge your research addresses clearly stated? What is your research focus? What will you be covering? What will you not be covering? Here's my point. you need to clearly communicate the specific problem or gap in knowledge your research is addressing and how significant the problem or gap is. And it is also crucial to take into consideration the vision, mission, and the values of the funding body you are submitting your proposal to. Most funding bodies are organizations with their own identity, with what they stand for. And your proposal has to clearly demonstrate its alignment with that identity, with what the funding body stand for, if you are going to get the approval you seek. So the second convincing factor is the feasibility and methodology of the research. Is your research doable? What constraints are you taking into consideration? Time, money, and other required resources. What about your own research skill set? With your potential constraints, will you be able to execute the research project? And how are you going to go about that? You will need to convincingly demonstrate in your proposal how you will conduct your research within these constraints, and as well demonstrate how the methodologies you intend to employ are suitable and will help you execute the research project within the proposed time frame. As you prepare your proposal, your demonstration of the feasibility and methodology of the research must be practically convincing enough for the readers or authorities at the funding bodies. Otherwise, you don't have a proposal that can get the approval that you seek. Now, let's head over to the third convincing factor, the expected impact of your research. What is novel about your research in the context of the funding body's focus, vision, mission, objectives, and values? In that respect, how unique are your research outcomes expected to be, and how are they expected to raise the profile of the funding body? How are you putting that into consideration in your proposal? You need to constructively demonstrate the potential outcomes and implications of your research, highlighting its unique relevance and potential contributions to the field. If your readers or the authorities at the funding bodies are not convinced by at least these three factors, your chances of getting your proposal approved are slimmer. So when you are writing your proposal, you will have to pay a lot more attention to demonstrating these three criteria convincingly. Why is your research important in the context of the funding body's view of academic, scientific, or societal progress? How is your research doable considering the constraints you have and the alignment of your methodologies with the identity of the funding body? And what is novel about your research in view of the uniqueness of your expected outcomes for the funding body's profile? Those are the convincing factors that should guide the preparation of your research proposal, seek approval from funding bodies. Now, here is a crucial point worth mentioning. Even while you take into account these convincing factors, it is important that you always check with the requirements of the funding body, the format or the guidelines they have provided to detail what they expect of you as you prepare your proposal and follow them accordingly. So that is pretty much it for today. On a final note, before you submit your proposal to the funding body, ensure that you do thorough and diligent proofreading and editing before sending it out for submission. So if you had named one assistant or the other, reach out to us at Academia Cafe via email at nurture.you@outlook.com. And if you have found this video helpful, please do give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe for more. Until next time, gracias.